Well, thank you so much for having me. This is my second time with Angelo, but I believe that the disbarment was punishment for what she didn't do, because the Israel Firsters who had financed her campaign, when she won, my dad was outside the governor's mansion protesting because Ariel Sharon came to Georgia to celebrate.
Wow.
And so my dad was protesting in front of the governor's mansion with the Ku Klux Klan. You know?
Now that's uniting the base.
That's uniting the base. That's right. And that's what we need to do.
Well, not since Marcus Garvey, right? That's something like that happened.
Marcus Garvey was along the same lines, and you can find out what he had to say about his trial, where he said, you know, the judge was Jewish, the lawyer was Jewish. He couldn't win, but he felt that he could have won if he had some white Anglo-Saxon Protestants, some children of pilgrims to ally himself with, and that's what he tried to do. I think it's what we are told we can't do. So Black people are supposed to be afraid of white nationalists, right? Mm-hmm. You're supposed to be afraid. And so if you're afraid, then you don't reach out, you don't talk to, you don't work with. And the stovepiping of the US population or the US electorate, so that you and I don't talk to each other. We only talk to the people who think like us. Mm-hmm. And so therefore, we're never able to really come together effectively and work against the 1%, which is now the 0.5%, which is probably the 1/100%.
Right. Since we got into it. So not only was this judge Jewish, but a member of the NAACP. Most of the hate from Garvey came from the NAACP, right? So that's Professor Tony Martin, who is a Garveyite, and he got into a lot of trouble when in his Black Studies class at Wellesley College, he introduced the secret relationship behind Blacks and Jews, talking about the Jewish involvement in the slave trade. So he came under so much fire. He wrote this book called The Jewish Onslaught about it. And he has this quote in here. And I think this fits to what you're saying when you speak about like white nationalists, Black nationalists, and white nationalists are typically working class white people who see demographic change, who see they're being attacked, who are poor themselves, who are struggling, but they see an anti-white narrative. So they realize, well, we got to collectively organize too, because no one's speaking up for us, right? So this is the mentality there. Same mentality with Black people. It's like, why shouldn't there be a dialogue there? Why can't we all prosper? But he says this, because you look at creation of NAACP and a lot of these organizations, they're first started by Jewish people, and slowly but surely they put Black people in power once they've been trained properly, right? That's kind of the method. Professor Tony Martin said this. He goes, Black folk will continue to be the pawns in other people's games until the elusive quest for power is realized. It may be that the Jewish establishment has concluded that a prostrate African-American population to be oppressed or paternalized as the times warrant will continue to be its insurance against a Euro-American reversion to European anti-Jewish activity. So do you see that, to where they will use races against each other to keep themselves, like you said, as long as we're at each other's throats, we're never looking up at the people at the ivory tower.
That's right.
It's always about fracturing the working class.
That's right. And I don't call them elites, because that kind of gives them a kind of nobility, and they're not noble at all. They're, these are very evil people. But the Jews in Atlanta wanted to, I don't even say Jews anymore. I say Khazarians, because if the real Jews are not these people. These are people from Europe who have nothing to do with the land over there that, Judea or whatever. So I call them Khazarians now. But anyway, they wanted to join the mostly Pilgrim driving clubs, social clubs, economic clubs. And so they joined with the civil rights movement. But the civil rights movement rode on the backs of Black people, so that, and the Khazarians, the Israel Firsters, they actually were interested in their own advancement. So they used the civil rights movement as a tool for their advancement. Melissa Fay Green tells the whole story of how the Jews in the United States used the civil rights movement for their purposes. And that wouldn't have been the first time.
Well, they even say Black Lives Matter was co-opted at some point. A lot of Black folks are like, yeah, this isn't who we are. We were just trying to do this police brutality. And then Elisa Garza, who's half Jewish Black person, she runs it. And the person who bombed the Capitol, Susan Rosenberg, terrorist, literally, her sentence was commuted by Bill Clinton. She's on the board of Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
So it's like they've co-opted even that, you see?
Well, that's necessary, because if we don't do that, we're going to be wiped out.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll become slaves, like in the truest sense, to these people who are heartless. You know, it's like there's a song, it's called "Who Is Your God?" Right? So it asks the Israelis, and it's sung by an Israeli woman. Who is your God? Because you're killing the Palestinians. And, you know, now we get the headline from antiwar.com that tells us that Israel is preparing for a strike against Iran, and they've been striking on Syria. And, you know, at some point, these people, if you just try to wait them out, you can't wait them out, because this is a crime syndicate that is intergenerational. So you can't wait them out. And not only is it intergenerational, it also is, they don't have a God, because there's no God that would allow serve as a justification for all of the killing that these people do. And so I just recently, somebody sent me something about when the Bolsheviks took over, the number of people that they killed. And I couldn't, I said to myself, these people are bloody. They're bloody. This entity that has the name SARS coronavirus, well, it utilized a particular protein that appears in the human body. And that was the way in which it attached to the human cell and then proliferated in the body. That was what they discovered when they did the research. And that was why East Asians, no matter where they happen to be on the planet, were getting this disease.
It's like a bioweapon, almost like targeted to them, perhaps, if that's even possible.
Not even a perhaps. Based on SARS, we knew that East Asians were going to die. SARS coronavirus 2, then you do the research, and what you find is that SARS coronavirus 2 attaches to the same ACE2 receptor. Okay, so now what the Chinese are studying, their question is, well, who has ACE2? Does everybody have ACE2? And the answer is no. ACE2 is not uniformly distributed among the Homo sapien population. There are some subpopulations that have a lot of it. And now what we know from one study is that there are some populations that have none of it.
But the Khazars don't have any ACE2. That's what it's going to come out.
That's right. That's right. That's it. And that's what this study concludes. But the bottom line is that Ashkenazi Jews have very little to no susceptibility because of the limited amount of ACE2 that they have in their bodies.
Interesting.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I'm going to have to really dig through this then. Yeah, wow. If we needed more reasons, Cynthia, if we needed any more reasons, they keep giving it to us.
Yeah.